name's Anina Collier. I'm the Dean of the Center for Creativity, and we're so happy you're here. This is going to be a super fun workshop. I can't make a seed bomb with Tulsa Garden Center, and I heard someone over here say, like, do you have a target in mind? Which just really cracked me up. So a couple of announcements before we get started. The restrooms are right over here. Water fountain and bottle filler out there. And I apologize in advance. I know a lot of you have already heard this once today, but we did have quite a few people come in who weren't at the first workshop. And so I want to let you all know that we have a free writing workshop coming up Monday, October 20th at 5:30 with Janetta Price, which is the woman you see doing spoken word poetry in that video. She is an author, a blindness advocate, and she is a licensed therapist. And so this will be a really energetic and fun writing workshop. She comes very highly recommended, so we're excited for her to be here. And her visit is sponsored by the TCC Foundation as part of our Please Touch the Art programming. So we'd love to see you for that. There's flyers at your check-in table. And then Tulsa achieves 2 years free college for every single Tulsa County high school student who graduates with a 2.5 GPA, and that is public, private, or homeschool. There's no catch to this. It is a national model of a public-private partnership to provide a free college education. Students can get a 2-year associate's degree, go right out into the workforce as a nurse or many, many other professions, or they can go ahead and transfer to a 4-year institution and finish up that way. 2 years free college. It's not too good to be true. If you have a young person in your life, please make sure they know about this. Despite our best efforts, it's still surprising how many people don't know about Tulsa Achieves. So we have postcards there. If you're in some kind of troop or group or anything and need a bunch of them for a group of students, take what you need. We are so happy to have Tulsa Garden Center. I always tell Lee I am so impressed with the organization of this workshop because it's very easily, you could imagine, the event hall would be trashed afterwards, but they always plan so well that it's not. This is going to be a fun workshop. Please help me welcome Lee Taylor. Taylor. Okay, all of a sudden I had a moment of panic. Lee with Tulsa Garden Center. Thank you.
Yeah. Good morning. So I'm Lee Taylor. I'm the teaching garden manager at the Tulsa Garden Center. We're over in Woodward Park. How many of you have been over there? Okay, good. You're all familiar. Fantastic. Right now is a beautiful time in the park. I mean, there's so many things still blooming, so do drop by and give us a visit. But today we are going to be doing something for you to garden in your own spaces. I think I've dropped one. So what we're going to be making today is, and I also have Jana here with me. Jana is our gardener. So she'll be walking around helping you out later. So what we're going to be making today are seed bombs. I know that they look a little bit like what a dung beetle might produce, but they are essentially a clump of potting mix and seeds that you can toss out into a semi-wild space, and then it will kind of dissolve over a period of time, and then those seeds will be settled into the topsoil, and those plants will get to grow. This originated kind of as a guerrilla gardening into like empty lots. I do want to advise you that that is questionably illegal. So please do this on your own property or places where you have explicit permission. So I've actually used these in my own yard, kind of tossing them back into forgotten corners, or like my parents' pasture, those kinds of places where I know I have the permission, because it is actually questionable on that. But it's still a great system because native seeds often need a period out kind of on the ground, getting cold and wet, so that they know winter has actually passed before they're going to start growing. So this is a fantastic thing to do with native seeds in particular, or any seed that needs that cold stratification period to break its dormancy and start growing. So I do want to, let's see, we're going to introduce you to a little bit. You've got seed mix on your table. You've also got some potting mix. And then you've got this gray powder, which is a clay powder, kind of pulverized clay. dried clay. The seed mix has a variety of native seeds in it, so they are native, at least to the U.S. Most of them are regional and Oklahoma native. So a good mix. I want to kind of show you what you're going to be getting in that mix. I've only brought the things that were actually flowering at this time of year, but there are spring and early summer bloomers in this mix as well, like Joe Pye weed. I didn't bring any rattlesnake master, but that's also in here, and a few others as well. So let's start with, this is a verbena. Get that to focus there. So nice purple flower. This actually blooms a fair amount of the season and is great as a dried flower, but also a fantastic nectar and pollen source. We've got the salvia here, this bright red salvia. And then some other, let's see, that's also verbena. Grab this one. Another one you're probably familiar with is purple coneflower, a great little native plant. And there are both annual and perennial varieties in this mix as well. And then we have a Rebecca, or black-eyed Susan. And some are state wildflower, Indian blanket, or Gaillardia. And then this is a false sunflower, which is also in there. So a few other things in there, but that's what's blooming currently in the mix. I will say that with the seed mix, because of kind of the certain conditions that you might be throwing these out into, you might see some of them germinate next year, and then it might actually take a second year for those seeds to actually break their dormancy, kind of depending on which plant they are. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started on mixing. So if one brave person would fluff their potting mix, just to break up any clumps. Just make sure it's already kind of nice and fluffy. It's a little bit moist. Great. Okay, once that's fluffed up, each person is gonna take their little white cup and measure about 3 cupfuls onto their plate, like so. Okay, let everybody get that caught up. This is a great time to ask questions, too, if you've got any questions. Yeah. Yes. I'm not sure about that one. I think that one would hopefully germinate next year. I have trouble germinating that one sometimes, so, it really depends on conditions. How wet, where it is, how much sunlight it gets, all of that, so. As a plant, it prefers sun, yeah. Here, don't wash your hands, dunk your hands. So for everyone who feels like they need to come, get their hands clean in between steps, instead of going and washing potting mix into their bathrooms, I have a bucket of water up here. You can dip your hands and kind of scrub off anything so that we're not getting potting mix down drains. We've also got a couple of rags you can kind of dry your hands off. This is gonna be a consistently messy process though, so you might wanna just hold off, hang out in that slightly uncomfortable space, because it gets worse. All right, so next, once you've got your potting mix, you're gonna take 1 scoop of your clay powder and kind of go over your potting mix with it. So this is the recipe that I like using, is approximately a 3 to 4 parts potting mix to 1 part clay powder. The reason for this is you don't want it to be mostly clay, because once that hardens up, it actually takes a really long time for rain and snow and weather conditions to erode that. You want these to actually kind of break apart and the seeds to get settled into the soil a little bit quickly. And so we actually want these to be fairly fragile. So this will pull apart with only the slightest twist. And this one's been drying for a couple of days now. So we want them to break apart fairly quickly, actually. It's clay powder. Yeah, you can actually, so if anyone's looking for like where you can pick this up, if you don't have like, very generously, Third Street Clay Works donated this kind of used clay to us, dried out, broken greenware pots that we then pulverized. But you can also pick up clay powder from a variety of craft stores. Okay, so everybody's got their clay now. The next important ingredient, of course, is our seeds. That's the whole point of this, right? So we don't actually want to put that many seeds into any single seed bomb, because really when the seed bomb dissolves, I'm going to set this aside. So, right, when this breaks apart, right, it's probably only going to distribute those seeds a certain amount of space. And so if you're getting 50 seeds that are trying to all grow up in that space, only some of them are going to be successful. And so we actually want to dilute down the number of seeds that we have in each seed bomb. So we're not going to put that many seeds into our pile here, but we are going to add some. So the amount for so this is about a cup, maybe a little bit more, a cup and a half maybe, depending on how generous you were with your scoops. We're probably only going to do maybe about a tablespoon of seeds, okay? So just kind of some into your hand, and then you're just going to sprinkle that over the top. Let everybody get started with that. Any more questions about the plants? All right. So then, to make sure everything's well distributed, we're going to get in there with our hands and gently mix it up. You, of course, can do this in much larger batches. There's no reason that we need to do it on, if you're going to do this at home, you can take a whole bag of, pound of seeds, kind of figure out what the amount of potting mix you need and how much clay powder you might need. You also don't have to use potting mix. You can actually use, if you make compost at home, even if you've got some like loamy soil, I wouldn't just use pure clay soil, though you can do that. I would lighten it up a little bit so that it will actually break apart when you throw these things out into the wild of your own yard. Okay, now that we've got this all mixed up, we're gonna need to dampen this down just a little bit more. Our potting mix was already moist, and so you can see it's already getting a little bit of a cohesive feel to it. Like if you were to take it and squeeze it, it kind of clumps together. We need it to clump a little bit better than that. So we're gonna add, everybody's got a water bottle on their table, as well as your drinking water, so it's the same thing. This is perfectly potable. We're just gonna add the tiniest amount of water. It does not take a lot to kind of activate that clay and get it to be a little bit stickier. So just a little bit. So now we're getting kind of more to a dough consistency, right? As I knead this together. And when I pick it up and squeeze it, I can get the tiniest amount of water to kind of squeeze through my fingers. That's probably about the right amount of water here. How are we doing? A little too much water won't hurt anything. Now it looks like a cow patty. I would add more potting. So we had a question here. If you feel like you've gotten a little bit too wet, I would add a little bit more potting mix first, and then try and balance it out that way. Both clay and potting mix actually have a really high water holding capacity, but it does take them a little bit to uptake that extra water. Okay. All right, looking good. We're gonna move on to our next step here. Okay, so I know we're all excited to move on. So the next bit is forming our seed bombs. So doing this all in one big clump, like one big ball, end up being slightly smaller than probably a baseball, is a little bit large because again, it would take time for that to open up and kind of dissolve where the seeds could settle into our topsoil. So we want to actually go a little smaller than that, at least quarters. You could probably even get away with sixths and be really fairly, small depending on what you wanted to do. So this is, imagine balling out cookie dough, right? So maybe a tablespoon and a half is a great size. Yeah, and you don't really need to squeeze it too much. Just kind of roll it up into a ball. And once this dries out, it'll hold itself together pretty nicely. Yeah, once you... All right, and once those are formed, all you need to do now is take them home, set them out somewhere sunny, where they're not gonna get more moisture on them so that they can dry out a little bit. We're gonna keep making seed bombs as we go along here. I wanted to show you another method that's very slightly different, but more or less this, just a slightly different way of adding your seeds in. Okay, so the second method of making seed bombs, very, very similar. It's still the same ratio of potting mix to clay, but we're not adding our seeds in at this step. We're gonna moisten this down just a little bit, same as we did the other, being as light on water as we can, because it doesn't need a lot. You're welcome to do another set. If we need more clay at any of the tables that are more heavily populated, Jana can help you out there. We've still got a little bit left. But I wanted to show you, you can make this where instead, I think under there, yeah. And a couple of the other tables have extra plates too. All right. So the second method, same start, 3 to 4 parts of potting mix, 1 part clay. Moisten that down so there's no seeds in this mix yet. You're gonna pull up a little ball and poke yourself a little hole there in the center, and then you're gonna put a little tiny pinch of seeds kind of in the center, and then close that up like a little dumpling. Both of these methods are great. Kind of had equal results with both of them. It's just kind of whatever your preference is. If you want to be a little bit more particular, maybe you're mixing a couple different types of seeds in, or so these do need to dry. Getting some more clay. I've got quite a bit in mine that I won't need. Yeah. So you can go pretty light on the clay. Yeah, we're coming around. Send up a representative from your table for extra supplies. Yeah, you can swap. Yeah, I don't need, no, I don't need any more. We're good. I shouldn't. More clay. 1 second. I'm also going to need to wash my hands.
The dirt itself is settling. Get a towel. Don't worry that the dirt itself is settling.
Well, yeah, it's more to get.
I watched a video. It's not coming on Google yesterday. One guy made seed bombs. Before I decided to come. I'm afraid. He used kitty litter for his plate. Well, that'll work.
Yeah, so we just had a
That's a cheap way you can go for your.
somebody comment on other materials you can use. You can use paper pulp. A student here had said they'd watched a video on making seed bombs previously where the guy used cat litter. That is a clay source, but I would be cautious on using completely unscented, unmodified clay litter just to make sure that you're not contributing any sort of like, you know, allopathic or any other sort of chemical into the situation that would disturb your baby seeds, because their seeds can be very sensitive when they're first germinating. Those little babies, like, they need to have a very nice, easy environment to come into. Yeah, so milkweed, actually, I'm pretty sure there are some milkweed seeds in this, some butterfly weed, Asclepias tuberosa. Again, I didn't have any blooming, so I didn't bring it. Also trying to leave it for the butterflies. But pretty much I'm gonna say all native seeds are gonna do really well with this. I would not use this to do any kind of annual or tropical bedding plant. So anything that germinates really easily, getting it wet like this is going to start that process, and then drying it out, you can actually do a little bit of damage to that seed. Because native seeds want a long period of cold and wet, they're going to tolerate being a little bit wet now, drying out, and then getting wet again. Because that's just part of the natural process of them germinating in the wild. And so they're going to be a lot less disturbed by that happening here in the seed bomb than, say, peppers or tomatoes or other things. So yeah, you all are welcome to make seed bombs until we are going to want to make sure that we've got a little bit of cleanup time, because this is pretty messy. But as long as we have materials, you're welcome to keep making yourself some seed bombs. Do we have any other questions about the plants or the process or other materials? Yeah. So the mix here is a full sun mix. A lot of the plants will tolerate some shade, especially if it's like morning shade and then a lot of sun in the afternoon, or a lot of sun in the morning and then a little bit of shade in the afternoon. They'll tolerate that pretty well. I would completely avoid full shade or any like dappled consistent through the day. They're going to want a period of full sun. Let's get this. Question?
Is that calendula?
Yes, I think that is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so excellent, great question that I was going to eventually get to. No, you're totally fine. No worries about that. And it was certainly information I needed to convey. So the question was, when do we throw these? So I would take them home, let them dry out so that they became, well, and now I can't find my dry ones, hard enough clumps that you can like chuck them a fair distance, right? The point of these is that you can throw them into areas that are difficult to get to. And then I would do this relatively quickly. I would throw them out by the middle of November because you want them to be out all winter experiencing that cold and that wet so that they can dissolve apart, the seeds can become ready to germinate in the springtime when it warms up a little bit. So the one thing I would not do with these is don't hold on to them until spring and then chuck them out in the spring. Likely that the little bit of start that we've got kind of here with the seeds getting a little bit moist, they're going to be absorbing some of that water into their seed coat and starting to wake up just a little bit. And so we want them to relatively quickly start experiencing the natural cycle of the environment. If you wait all winter long, you know, they might be in too warm conditions, they get too dried out. So do it pretty soon once they're dry enough to kind of have some firmness to them where they're not going to break apart. No, you could also put them out where they're, yeah, so you could totally take these home, just put them right out into the garden beds where you're planning on having them, but you can also let them dry and then take them to where you're going to put them out, yes. Natural rainwater, like it's going to take a little bit of time for water to kind of break this apart. You're welcome to water them in, but it's not necessary with this process. Like this is meant to be chucked out and forgotten, and then the seeds kind of take care of themselves. Okay. All right. Any other questions? We're getting some more water, so y'all can go a little faster. There's not one station. My hands a little bit cleaner so I can touch stuff. So quick, easy process, not difficult to do, a great way to add natives to your garden. It helps you, like, so even if you were doing this at home, like you can mix your seeds into sand and scatter sow them out. Now is a fantastic time to start native seeds. Get yourself a wildflower mix. On wildflower mixes, one thing I would really recommend is pick up a very specific wildflower mix that you know has wildflowers that are non-invasive here if they're not regional, or even better, pick exclusively native mixes. So a lot of times when you go to the big box stores, it's great that they've got wildflower mixes, but those wildflowers are from all over and actually often include exotic species from not the US that just happen to be good nectar or pollen sources, but we don't necessarily want to be introducing those into more wild spaces. We don't want them to spread and overtake the environmental niches that our natives need, right? So do carefully look on the back, make sure that it is a full mix of natives if it doesn't specifically say. However, there's a lot of great Texas and Oklahoma native mixes. There's wildflower mixes for shade that you can look up. A great resource is wildflower.org. That's the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center in Texas. They're a fantastic source. Native American Seed is another great company that has a Texas-Oklahoma mix and a shade mix. So you know that those seeds are well sourced. Another great thing to do is get involved with native plant societies if you care about native wildflowers and wild plants, because often where the seeds come from, populations have very slightly adapted their phenotypes to better deal with, like say in Oklahoma, our shorter winters. If I get seed from Michigan for a plant that is native here, it's going to want a long, deep freeze before it'll germinate, versus the same species here will not want that. So also sourcing as locally as you can for your seed is a great way to get a better germination rate and a better health in that population of plants that you're establishing. We're going to be handing out a class list of everything that we're offering in the next, up until December. We've got a great list of classes going on. I'm going to grab one of these so that I can remember all the classes, because it is a long list. And then yeah, would you mind? I'm going to take this crumpled one on top. All right. So the Tulsa Garden Center is the host organization for currently 15 and very soon to be 16 plant societies, including the Perennial Club and the Native Plant Society, Green Country chapter of Oklahoma Native Plant Society. So two great plant societies to become a member of. Our newest plant society is just starting in October. It's the Carnivorous Plant Society. Very cool. We're very excited for that one. It'll be actually the first chapter in the US, which is very cool, because it is a UK-based society. So upcoming, we have all sorts of things going on. Let me catch up with where we are in time. So on Monday, we have a paper making with Pokeberry Art, where you'll be adding seeds and petals to decorative paper. And so you can actually make seed paper in much the same way that you would make a seed bomb. You can make seed paper and lay it out in the ground, slightly cover it with soil, and you'll get seeds sprouting out of that paper, which is very cool. On the back, you'll see our fall lecture series. This is a series of lectures covering all your basic horticulture knowledge. So we've already kind of covered horticulture, botany, and soil science, but coming up on Thursday, we've got compost and herbaceous life cycles. There's a whole class on plant propagation, and so all plant lovers want more plants, right? So plant propagation is a great way to get more plants in your garden. And then we also have several others: pest management and irrigation, information about woody plants, and then a garden design course November 6th, all on Thursdays. I'd also like to mention specifically a new event that we're hosting starting this last summer is Evenings in the Teaching Garden, Sunset Slowdown. We invite a local musician and artist into the garden for the evening, and it's a pack your own picnic, bring your own beverage kind of event, but you come enjoy the garden in the evening when it's not usually open. So that's a really cool event. The next one is October 14th at 6 p.m. So yeah, October 14th. Want to make sure I got the date right on that. Very cool event, very fun, and especially now that it's cooling off a little bit in the evenings, a really lovely time to come spend in the garden, see it at another time when you wouldn't usually get to. You can find tickets or registration for all these events at tulsagardencenter.org. We're always happy to see you in the garden. The teaching garden's open 9 to 4, Tuesday through Saturday, so do come check us out. And of course, reach out at any time with questions about our events, about gardening in general. We're always happy to chat with you about that. So thanks so much for coming this morning. If you can, do give us a hand getting things kind of reconsolidated, cleaned up a little bit, so that we don't leave our table super messy. Appreciate you all.
Thank you so much, Lee. Thank you, Tulsa Garden Center. Now when I drive around Tulsa and see beautiful wildflowers, I'll wonder if they were our bombs. Thank you so much. Definitely, I see a lot of people helping clean up. We greatly appreciate that. And we hope to see you next week for I Can't Bollywood Dance and I Can't Play. Thank you so much.